Hello ladies and gentlemen, it's Christmas time and New Year's and I'm trying to squeeze in a little video here carving this here, a Lightning Ridge Black Opal rough. It's actually a rub. You can see here that it's actually been probably a little bit over rubbed. There might have been some sand spots in the face that were hard to get rid of, so they've rubbed it all the way back. This came from Jarrad, one of the parcels I bought off him recently. I'll link the video if I can find it. And you can see here that there's these two little sand spots still, even though they've rubbed it back so far. And luckily enough for me, they're on the edge. And if I give it a quick dunk in water, magic, you can see it's got a beautiful red, green, tiny bits of yellow and blue as well. Beautiful pinfire kind of pattern. And I'm just basically going to take back this edge. I won't quite get rid of all of the sand. I'll round off the last little bit as long as it doesn't shoot in any deeper. But we're just going to take back this little edge here, flip it around, and the color kind of peters out over here. And we don't want that fried egg look where there's all this beautiful color and then it starts fading out as you go out. So we're going to take that right back over here, which will get rid of this sand, which we need to do anyway. And we should be left with a nice little pinfire black opal in the center here. So it should be a nice, quick, easy job. Now, for those of you saying that you're struggling to sell cut stones and the likes, if I were the selling man, what I would be doing with this is stenciling on a oval right into the guts here. So it'd be a fairly small stone, but I'd be stenciling that in and yeah, you'll get a really nice stone that'll probably have quite a bit of commercial value. People don't typically... The pinfire is quite an underrated pattern in my mind. I really like it. I think it's a very interesting part of Opal to be able to create something like this. But people like blockier color patterns. This one is also a little bit dispersed, so you get a lot of that black in the back. But all in all, if you cut this and you really want to sell it, then make sure you just stencil on an oval. There's no need to be embarrassed about using stencils. I'm sure everyone still does it. I know I do it whenever I need a stone that I'm trying to replace in another item. So I'm still hunting for one for my sister. I need a small little white Cooper to match her bracelet, which has got 6 other stones I think on it. So I'm still working on that. But yeah, that's how you get stones to sell. Pick a very commercially viable shape like an oval and really stick to that stencil. Me, on the other hand, what I want to do is not have a perfect oval. I just want to keep it... I actually purposely want to keep it slightly misshapen because I want to create a custom ring with this one. I think it's still going to be big enough to make a fairly decent ring. And it'll be oval-ish, but more of a pill kind of shaped stone. But we'll see how it goes. You can see it's drying up and the scratch marks are coming through again. And they are quite brutal. What I'm going to do is use a high grit sintered diamond, so probably something like the yellow, the 600-ish. And I'll use that just to take back the edges, but I'm not going to touch the face at all. See, these scratch marks are already... These look like they were done by about a 400 wheel. Maybe a little bit higher, probably about a 400 wheel looking at some of these. And so I'm just going to go over this with the Nova points because I can't afford to lose any more of this color bar. It's already really thin, already gone on this edge. I need to be really careful and basically just take the time to get rid of those scratches with the most delicate method possible. So that'll be the Nova points. And I think we have covered everything with this piece of rough, so let's get into it. Alright, under the knife. You can see here the first priority in all of this is to just get rid of that sand. There's no other choice but to get rid of it. Some people do say that you can just hide it in the edge and then you can just bezel over the top, but I find that sand destabilizes opal way too much, so I prefer it completely gone. If I can round out the last little bit of it, I will. I just tried then, you could see, but it wasn't enough. I have to keep the dome really low on this one. We've got very little color bar on one side and then nothing on the other. So we're working with a tiny, thin little piece, and therefore we're just going to have to take it in further on the side until it's gone. Which is a bit unfortunate, but you can see here, boom, gone. We're doing all of this with the high sintered grit, which I think I could have swapped it out for a coarser grit, especially on this side, because we've got like 1/2 centimeter of material to get through to match the other side, to get this little pill shape kind of stone. So I could have gone coarser, but I really did want to be careful any chips on the edges, and that would be a huge setback because I don't want to touch the face with this sintered diamond at all. And you can see here we're just working away, taking that material all the way back. Got quite a lot of it to go. And I'm seeing this potch and I'm thinking that I'm in for a little bit of trouble because this mottled kind of look is rough. It can affect the face quite a bit and you can already see it at the moment. But we switch over to the 280 and here I'm starting to hit the face. By the end of the 280 I need to have every little chip and scratch out of here. You'll see at the end of the 280 stage we check it out dry just to make sure that everything's gone and then we move on. But the 280 is the most important part here. I don't want to go too deep, but I have to get rid of the scratches. There's no choice but to get rid of them. And anything on the edge that I don't like the look of, any little chips or sand spots or anything like that, they're all got to go. All got to go at this stage. It's too much hard work for the 600, so 280 is the best Nova for this. And you can see here the shape is pretty much settled at this point. The 280 does a fair bit of shaping here. You can see I'm just doing some minor adjustments because I didn't like the little wobble because of the sand that I got rid of. And I didn't like the look of one of the ends, but we work on that and settle with the final shape at this point before we move on to the 600 where we're really just going over the same spots as the 280, but we're not changing the stone that much. We're just kind of getting it closer to that polishing stage. And here it is dry. So you can see there all of those deep scratches now are gone and you're replacing it with a fog. Wet, of course, all of that disappears. And we've just subbed in the 600 here and we're just going to hit all the spots. You don't need to worry about the sides too much, but I hit them as I round off onto the edge because I like to make sure that's all nicely polished, even though I do plan on bezel setting it, which will cover this edge. The edge is just there to give it something to grip onto. But I like to have it nicely finished. You don't want to underdo the job. If anything, overdoing it is not so bad. You might have lost an extra minute or something, but what's a minute in the grand scheme of things, really? So yep, hitting it all, making sure it's all coming along well, doing some minor adjustments on the shape. Really small, don't rely on your 600 to do any shaping. It will take you a long time. And then here we go, grey, 1200. Now I'm starting to relax. I'm hitting the face a lot more. It's going to remove far less material, so I'm not overly worried about that like I was with the previous two stages. The face was really thin, so real careful. Hitting the edges once again just to make sure that there's no little spot on the edges that is missed. And yep, hitting the face. Double checking those edges by just focusing on them. You don't want to do that too much because you can still change the profile of the edge quite a bit, even with the 1200. With the 3000 you don't need to worry at all, but 1200 you can mess up your edge a little bit, so just got to be careful with it. But most importantly, just make sure that pretty much the fog is not gone, but it's getting rid of it. And then the final Nova, so the 3000 Nova. Here you can just, don't spend too long on it, but you can see there I ground it right down to the point before it was just about to start drying, just to check to see whether there was a gloss starting to form. By the end of the 3000 you do want it to start taking a bit of a shine, and I will show that before we move on to the polishing powder. Just make sure you hit all the edges and don't worry too much about losing any material. 3000 is pretty gentle. Here I'm still letting it get close to that dry. You don't want to dry carve with the Novas too much. Definitely keep it all wet. But it is a nice quick and easy way to, on the fly, just check to see how your progress is going. You definitely don't want to see any kind of marks or chips or anything, because then you're going to have to go way back to the 280 or the 600. And you're just wasting your time hitting it with a 3000. So let's just have a quick look at it. Just trying to dry it off a little bit. And you can see there, it's starting to take a shine. And that's when you've got the all clear to go ahead and whip out your polishing powder and just go for it. And this, you definitely don't need to worry about losing any material. This is a very gentle process. I'm actually going to do a video on this process, like the science behind this process, because there's a surprising amount of articles published in science journals about how cerium oxide polishes stones like this. And I actually found it quite interesting. I did a lot of reading. I just got sucked in. But you can see here we're using the Blacklighters polish, and it's a hell of a polishing powder. I've actually determined what it's made out of, and that'll be coming up in a video as well. And yeah, just get it nice and shiny. I could do this all day, but we'll cut it here. Well, that is that, kind of. I actually want, at the end of this, to recut this stone. So I'll just go through it. It's not the perfect black opal. You can see even just from the potch on the side here, this is what I call the mottled piece of opal. So you've got patches. So beautiful black area right there, beautiful black area here. This end bit goes really grey with that corner grey body tone right there. And it's also quite patchy over there. In terms of colour, it's really, really weak. So I'm actually thinking of cutting it even shorter, just down to this little part here. So it gets rid of a lot of grey and fairly low colour areas. So I'm actually reconsidering how I'm going to cut this. So keep the same shape, just make it shorter. The other thing is you'll notice that the back hasn't been completed yet. So I just took a bit of the sand off because it was getting a bit muddy as I was holding it. So I just buzzed that off camera just after doing the shaping of the piece. So that was just with the sintered burr. And you can see if I can get my fingerprints off this and we let the light go across the surface. You can see there how the light doesn't go across in a straight line. You can see that it's a little bit warped. So it is a bit of an uneven face, but it took a really nice polish. So I'm quite happy with it. The uneven face isn't too bad. You'll see that it's a really low dome. I've literally just nipped off an edge around the whole thing. But there was no colour. As you can see up here, it got thinner. The other surprise is that it's actually nowhere near the pinfire that I thought it was at the start. There's actually a few jigsaw puzzles in there. There's more of a palette kind of pattern. Very much less of a pinfire kind of pattern, which, I don't know, I was actually looking forward to the pinfire pattern, but I do like seeing jigsaw pieces, and there are at least 3 really good ones over in this area over here on that black opal part. So overall, pretty happy. I think you'll see this again and we'll just recut it, and then we can do a kind of before and after because we've got this video to look back on, and I can just see if the decision was a good one or not. Just looking at it like this, I think it will be a good one. This isn't really adding that much to it. In some angles it's got a bit of colour, but nothing like the black opal area over here. So we'll cut off a bit of the grey and we'll keep all of that. But that'll do it for this one. So you'll probably see it again. For now, I think this is a pretty good size for a ringstone still. Even for a men's ring, it's still quite a decent size, not fully chunky. I think once that end is clipped off and it's a little bit smaller, it might be a little small for a men's ring, but for now, I think it's alright. And yeah, we'll call it quits there. Glad to get one sneaky last video into the end of the year. Who knows, maybe I'll squeeze another one out before we hit New Year's. Hopefully all of you are enjoying Christmas and hopefully going to enjoy New Year's as well. And I know not many of us get very much time for carving. I only just snuck this one in, but hopefully 2022, plenty of carvings. I want to see heaps of work from you guys. And yeah, let's keep going.